Well, hello and good day. This is Ryan David Espinosa, and we are joined with Helen Kramer for the fourth in our 6-week series on tools for a liberated life. Today, we're going to be discussing desired states and how that can be a part of our training and practicing to really live a more joyful and fulfilling life full of peace and ease. So, Helen, let's have you start us off and give us a little bit more information on the concept and how you use this daily and promote this.
Okay, so um, we all want to. I believe we all want to feel good, and there are reasons that we don't. And part of them we've talked about, like things in the brain and some of our conditioning. So we start. We're always looking to feel good through something. It could be through having more money. It could be through having a relationship. Um, and whenever we're craving something, it's because we imagine or we've been conditioned to believe that we have that something, like the romantic partner
Hmm.
or the better job, that we're going to feel something good. So, so I'm going to put you on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure.
So, can you think of a behavior um, that doesn't work for you, but it's hard for you to stop?
Yes.
Okay, go for
Yes.
it.
I actually went into it this morning, and that was funny that you mentioned this because I was going to bring this up. This morning, I practiced this desired state because I was all my friends were gone, and I have a relatively light day, and so I had a desire or an intent to grab to do a substance to smoke pot. So I was sitting on the front of the boat, and I could feel this uh, almost like a need or something that I was like grabbing for it. And so I sat down and really put myself in the state of how I would feel if I had done it. And automatically, I just actually felt my entire body relax and be at ease. And I sat and laid down just for about 5 or 10 minutes. And it was interesting how that just thinking of being in that state
Right.
eased and calmed that part of me that was
Craving.
craving it.
Right.
Yes,
And,
exactly.
and that's the sad part is that we're not taught that everything we're looking for outside is already inside. And so, and one thing that we know about the brain is the brain doesn't actually know the difference between doing something and imagining doing it. So there was a study where they were mapping the brain and they saw that the part of the brain, there was one part that was bigger, and that was the part that reflected finger movement. So in the pianist, they'd see that part of the brain and it was bigger. But when they asked people to play the piano for a certain amount of time, that part of their brain grew bigger. But when they asked people to just close their eyes and imagine playing that part of the brain, not moving their fingers at all, the part also grew bigger. So
Mm.
that means that we have much more power than we ever use. So a couple of weeks ago, I was working with a man who's trying to get off antidepressants, and he said that the and it's a slow process, and he gets sick when he tries to get off. And he said one of the things that the antidepressants are doing is that they're dulling him, and he can't find the passion or the excitement in his life. I said, well, what would you like to feel? He said, I love music. So I said to him, well, can you imagine a time that was very vibrant that you were listening to music? And he remembered going to a Rolling Stones concert. I said, go there now. And he went there and he said, oh my God, I feel everything. Even though he was on the medication, even though he was sure. Now, it was harder to get there, but in two
Mm.
seconds he was there. So I said, okay, while you're getting off the medication, keep practicing this. And that your body is making its own dopamine, it's making its own serotonin. But nobody teaches us that we can make those neurotransmitters. And so we either use medications, pharmaceuticals, or we use substances, or we have shopping addictions or food addictions just to produce that desired state. But
Hmm.
getting back to your example, I imagine, you can tell me if I'm wrong, that if you had smoked pot you would have had some recriminations about doing it and felt a little bit diminished. Whereas
Right.
when you just learn that you can bring up that desired state, you all you feel is empowered.
Right. And I think it's also empowering, just that concept that our thoughts and minds can have a physical reaction and affect us that intensely. I mean, literally, my shoulders relaxed, my physical body felt a state, a difference. And one of the first workshops we did, you had the whole class go into a desired state. So a place that they felt most at ease, most peaceful, most joyful. And for me, that was being in the ocean. And we did about a 5-minute meditation. And it was just, it drilled in how impactful our minds can be when we put ourselves back to how that felt and sensed and tasted, and how all of our senses felt at that moment, how much that can affect our bodies and translate to a physical response.
Right, and I'll just tweak that a little bit because let's say you're going to the ocean. I go to the beach. Some people go into the country. When you're entering that kind of visualization, you're entering it with your heart and your mind,
Mm, yeah.
and it's in the heart centered state that we have love and peace and joy, and we have we have a brain in the heart and has serotonin, it has other neurotransmitters, and the heart brain has 5,000 times the electrical and magnetic energy than the cranial brain. And so in our heart, if we're located in our heart, we can engage our brain to fulfill the heart's desire. And
Mm,
from no matter what question I ask people, it can be anything. When somebody wants a promotion or they want applause for some kind of entertainment they're doing. Whenever I ask people, what would you get to feel when you feel that, when you have that experience, it's always a feeling of calm or joy or feeling centered in themselves. It's not bells and whistles. We want to be content,
mm,
and
right.
we want to feel that we're worthy and lovable, and they're fundamentally good. So I was working with a woman today who had a very painful, long-lasting, painful relationship that she couldn't end. The man ended, and she's obsessed with showing him that she's really a good person. And she's
Mm,
already in a new relationship, so it's not as if he's coming out of loneliness. She couldn't stand the feeling that he might be saying negative things about her, and so and she said, well, just want closure. So I asked her
mm.
what would closure be like, and she said the closure would feel like I'm seen as a good person. And then she went into such peace and was like, what do I need him for? I already have it.
Mm. Just getting back to that really being within us.
It's already there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's painful that our conditioning is to always look outside, get the gold star, get the approval, get the a compliment on how you look or whatever. Get it from the outside, get it from the outside, and we miss all the beauty and richness that's already there.
Yeah, and I love this concept because I think it's so practical and it just makes sense that we're not trained or we're not taught to practice and train being in the state that we want, whether that's a loving state or a peaceful state or joyful state or fulfilled. And I personally have been, since we've talked about this, am been conscious of throughout the day, whatever I'm doing to connect to being in that beautiful state. And it's like that muscle. It's like when you're practicing it, like anything that you do in life, if you're training for the Olympics or you're training for a test and studying, you're flexing that muscle and learning how to really be in this joyful, loving state.
And on the other side of the coin, when I was talking about feeling peaceful and worthy, when we can't create the desired state and we think it's outside of us, then we're also carrying around feelings of shame, feelings that
Mm,
we're going to be judged, feelings that we're not good enough. So it's not a neutral not to feel the peace. It's that space is filled with some very painful perceptions about ourselves and painful projections. Because when we don't feel peaceful and we don't feel like we're good enough, we also will be projecting onto other people that they're seeing us in a diminished way. And
Mm.
so when we project that, it's like we don't know we're projecting. So we hear everything is critical even when it's not. Like I remember many years ago working with a man who was one of about 9 children, but the only one that was abused. And he always imagined people were talking behind his back. And he came in for a session with his partner. And this literally happened. His partner turned to him and said, "I'm here because I love you." And my client who'd been so tortured said, "Why are you always criticizing me?"
Oh, wow.
And I mean, fortunately, we got so far past that we could laugh at it. But he really heard criticism when his partner was being loving, and
Mm.
we're projecting. Unfortunately, it feels real to us, so we don't know it's a projection.
Right.
And the good news too is if I'm feeling centered and good and warm and heartfelt energy, I don't care if somebody judges me. I just see that as their fear response that they are trying to feel better about themselves by judging me, so I can have compassion, but it doesn't take anything away from me because I'm connected in my heart to who I really am.
Yeah, and there's so many ways that this feels like it is part of our, or at least was part of my being. And even in past sessions, we've talked about how, and I think it's cultural as well, that we feel like we're going to be happy or we'll be joyful when we are financially successful, have a house or certain cars, or have reached a aspirational level, that we will be happy then.
That's right.
And we've done so much work in being happy, joyful now. And
And
it's not depending upon those things.
and another sad aspect of this is if I'm feeling that I can only be happy, let's say by getting a romantic partner, um, I'm not present. So my mind might be thinking about how I look or buying new clothes or whatever it is that I feel would make me attractive. But you miss the whole moment
Mm.
when you have that peace in your heart. I walk downstairs in the morning and I look in my backyard and everything looks gorgeous to me because I'm not craving anything. I'm present.
Mm.
And when our mind is going, if I get this promotion, if I get this partner, if I get my Botox, it saddens me that people do those things, that they do things that harm their immune system, that make them feel worse about themselves. Because as Saria, my teacher, said, we're all chasing peace.
Mm. We're all chasing peace.
And
Yeah.
there's a very good video by a YouTube video by Ram Dass talking about addiction, and it's that feeling like if you talk to an alcoholic and they're feeling really anxious or out of sorts and they have a drink and they start to feel that peaceful feeling. And the
Mm.
problem is not a moral problem about being addicted to substances, it's an experiential problem. The first drink might feel soothing, the second drink might feel soothing. By the eighth drink, you're out of control, you're disinhibited, you're saying and doing things that you don't like and have repercussions. And then you wake up the next day feeling ashamed of yourself for being out of control, sick, and not present. So
Right. And if you're chasing that peace, you're always needing a little more. You're
that's
like, you're never there. You're never quite there.
if you don't know it's already here and you don't know.
Right.
And again, when I say if you don't know it's already here, most people couldn't know because they were never shown that. They were shown that it's always outside. So
Mm.
this is one of the reasons we're doing this, is to help people to see it's already here, and there are teachers or whatever that will help you to get in touch with it already being there.
So let's go through either walk through or what's the best way to give people a little bit more, hand holding for what getting into a desired state maybe looks and feels like. Um,
Well, I think if everybody could think of something that they're looking for. So I'll give an example. So let's say um, it happens a lot when I'm working with women and they're looking for a perfect partner. But let's say you're looking to make a career change and you're looking for a job that you really feel taps into your strengths or energizes you. So whatever it is, just what I like to do is have people do a breathing exercise that opens them up and shuts down the fight or flight response. So what I suggest is people do four rounds of an inhale for 4, holding for 7, and an exhale for 8. So 4, 7, 8. If you do that 4 times, most people will feel like their shoulders went down and they feel calm. And then so if I'm if um, if I'm chasing um, a romantic partner or a perfect job, then I do the breathing and I just close my eyes. So let's say it's the perfect partner. I got him right here. Imagine he's right next to me, somebody that loves me in the way that I want to be loved. And this is sort of what I did before I met my husband.
I remember you said that.
Yeah. So you imagine somebody just being the way you want, and then you take that experience in and you let it travel through your body and feel what it's like to be seen in the way you want to be seen, to have a person there that you can trust that really loves you. And you just breathe that in. And for most of these things, they have to be practiced over and over again because what's common, it's like I'll do a session with somebody where that happens, and I say, now remember what I used to do when they came in person, but remember when you walk into the subway, your brain isn't saying, that's full of shit. You really need a real person. This is a fantasy, and that's not going to keep you warm at night or whatever. And you have to keep saying to your brain, I know you're trying to help me, but I like the feeling I have when I go into this peaceful, desired state. If you practice it as I did before I met my husband, all of a sudden it just comes to the person who matches that fantasy comes to you.
Right.
It's like your receptors are open and consciousness just brings it in. And that can happen with a job. It can happen with getting new clients. I mean, I've worked on those issues for myself when I wanted to change my practice and expand it. I just imagined people coming with the energy that I wanted, and then they kept coming, and they're still coming.
Right.
But
So
not
it's just a simple way, really, is that if you're practicing it, you're really feeling what it would be like when you having whatever you're thinking you need or whatever that desire is.
right. And then your receptors are open, and and people can feel it. People can feel when you're open. The more open I am, the more people, again, pre-COVID, would come up to me in a restaurant and say something nice, or in the park, or say something nice, because they feel that you're open.
Right. Yeah, it becomes almost like a magnet in a way.
A magnet pulling that energy in. Exactly.
Yes.
So
I've noticed that.
when I was changing my practice a bit and doing more healing, um, and I started imagining people coming, um, it, it was amazing how I always used to think you had to mark it. And once I asked my teacher, Siri, how do you market? And she said, I've never marketed. I didn't have to market at all.
Oh, wow.
Nothing, absolutely nothing.
Wow.
And my
That's
and my practice quadrupled with no marketing, none of the steps that people are taught to take.
right. Because if you focus on the first step, which is your own state and what
Being in a
energy
energetic,
you're putting out there and what your energy you're in, what vibration or vibe you are currently
right.
and focused on. Yeah. Beautiful.
So we all have power that we don't know, and a lot of the work that I do, and I know we do things together, is to help people feel their own power.
Mm.
We are all, what do you call it, God, consciousness, spirit, energy. We are all contracted forms. Every form is a contraction of the infinite energy. And the more we feel ourselves having that infinite energy, the more infinite possibilities we have in our lives.
Mm. Yeah, and I utilized that magnet example recently too. When you feel that you're potentially giving away some power or that you're feeling disempowered in some way, have used that magnet visualization to really feel whole and feel like I'm fully empowered
Right.
and being myself in this present moment.
And also, I mean, to know like not everybody is receptive to your powerful energy, and I mean your heart power energy. But if you're not dependent on people responding, you'll find enough that will resonate with that energy.
Mm-hmm.
The more frightened people are, the less they'll resonate with that energy.
Yeah. Wow. So
So
what
they,
are there any other aspects of desired state that you think that we want to help people along to maybe help them better even understand or feel it?
well, I think you can just try resurrecting a memory that felt good to you. That could be playing with a childhood pet. That could be going someplace in nature, and
Mm.
just to really practice using your senses, opening up to feeling the total experience. A lot of desired states come from actually feeling connected to a pet, because with a pet, it's unconditional love. There's
Mm.
no judgment. So that can be a great model for what you want in in what's called a romantic relationship. That
Mm.
feeling that, I mean, there's nothing better than I'm not, I don't know if there's nothing better, but it's really good not to feel judged. And our pets, or if we have um, a niece or a young child that we have that just flow with. So anything that gives you that kind of flow feeling is an opportunity to really open that part of your life up. And then the more you open up to it and practice it, I wish I could say that it didn't require a lot of practice, but we've all been having too much practice feeling badly.
Exactly. If I had just been learned this concept early, I mean, I'm glad to be where I'm at and I'm grateful for it. But I think I've personally spent so much time in not feeling the great or suffering in a way with
Right,
a racing mind and not knowing the antidote is to practice feeling good, to
that's right.
practice the state of love and joy. And at times it's just me by myself sitting, thinking of a beautiful experience or feeling a memory and letting myself, my each every cell of my body really like absorb
Right.
that feeling.
And when you were talking about every cell in your body, um, our cells receive all the information. When we have a negative thought, we're sending that to every cell. We're sending it to our DNA. We're activating defective DNA. I'm going to have to go.
Oh,
I
no
have a
problem. We're running late.
okay. I have a work person that just came.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much, Helen, for joining again. We look forward to talking to you next week.
Okay, same. Yeah, I look
Okay.
well. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. All right. Bye
Take care.
bye.
Bye bye.
Kevin?